Hi everyone, this is a review of my 2014 Harley-Davidson Ultra Limited. I've had this Ultra Limited now for 18 months, and I wanted to give you an update on the opinions and assessments. I've ridden the Ultra 2 seasons now. Last year I rode about 5,000 miles, and this year I've ridden about 10,000 miles, so I got a total of 15,000 miles. This year I spent most of the time riding 2 up with full luggage. So the bike had the side bags full pretty much all the time, and then occasionally I had the trunk jam full and even have a bag up on the top, so there was a lot of weight on the bike. In this review I also want to try to answer questions asked in the comment section of my first review. Look below this video for a link to the first review. That was the review after 5,000 miles. The riding footage you're going to see in this review is from my visit to the Tail of the Dragons in North Carolina. That ride was part of my summer vacation, where I toured down the Blue Ridge Parkway and over to the Cheraholic Skyway in Tennessee. I have a separate YouTube video for this trip, and again you can see the link below. In the first season that I've had my Ultra, I had a couple of electrical warranty issues that have not reoccurred. This second season, 2014 Ultra Limited, has been problem-free. I've taken it to the shop only for routine oil changes and maintenance. I was asked in the comment section of the video last year of how I mount my GoPro camera to the bike, and I just mounted it on a windshield with a suction cup. The video recording picks vibration up from the bike and the road, and I've attempted to stabilize the video a little bit in post-processing. I think it passes alright for a B-roll, but just barely. It'd probably be better to mount the camera on a gimbal like used on a quadcopter. Many of the vloggers mount the camera to the helmet, and I'm just not a fan of mounting that camera up on your helmet because you limit your head movement because you're trying to make a nice looking video and you don't want to jerk the camera around. I think vloggers that do move their head around like I normally do when I'm riding, the video is just really choppy and it just makes me seasick. I really like to keep my Ultra pretty much in stock condition, but I have made two additions this year. Before these 2 additions, I could ride my bike no more than an hour or so without getting off and stretching. There just wasn't enough seating positions and ways to move my feet around on the bike to keep comfortable. I have installed 2 additions this season that really improved my riding comfort level dramatically. I've added a backrest and highway pegs. My experience with the backrest is I purchased an adjustable Harley-Davidson backrest from the dealer that I got my Ultra from. Took the seat home and removed the seat and attached the bracket to the bike, but there's just no way that tall boy seat was going to fit back on because the bracket just wouldn't fit up underneath the seat. I considered modifying the bracket assembly to make it fit. After I studied that bracket for a while, I just decided to return it to the dealer and inform them of the problem. Nowhere in the documentation of either the adjustable seat or in the catalog that Harley-Davidson had that bracket wouldn't fit in underneath a tall boy seat. So I decided to purchase a Harley-Davidson fixed position backrest, and that would fit. The bracket is just a lot smaller and it fits underneath that tall boy seat. I took it home and I installed it, and everything just fit fine. After using the fixed backrest for a while, I don't really know what I'm missing by not having an adjustable backrest, because this fixed position seat seems to work pretty well. My only issue with the backrest showed up while I was on vacation. I rode the Ultra about 2,000 miles in 6 days down the Blue Ridge Parkway and over the Tail of the Dragons and across the Cheraholic Skyway and back home. I was on Ultra the last day of the trip for 13 hours, riding over 500 miles. During those 6 days, I had actually bruised the muscles in my back by leaning back on the backrest for so long. So when I got home, I had to remove the backrest for a few days to kind of let my back heal up. And after a couple of weeks, I put the backrest back into service, and it really hasn't been a problem the rest of the season. I wanted highway pegs for quite a while. I wanted them last year also, but I couldn't decide on what type of mountings and pegs that I wanted. I wanted them adjustable and mounted very low, so it was an easy foot slide from the footboards over to the highway pegs. And I wanted to use Harley-Davidson equipment because their stuff just good, fits well. It's really normally expensive, so I was really reluctant to throw down $300, $350 for foot pegs in the mounting brackets. So after scanning eBay for a couple of weeks, I found a brand new set of Harley-Davidson Davidson mounting clamps. I ended up getting the clamps for $75, and they're normally about $150. I couldn't find a set of Harley Davidson pegs that I liked, so I had to settle on a set from Amazon. I wanted a big flat surface instead of a round peg, and everything all kind of came together nicely, and it worked out well. Before the Backrest and Highway peg editions, I could ride an hour or so before I'd have to get off and walk around and stretch. Riding more than an hour or so with my old knees, ankles, and butt would get very uncomfortable. But now that I got these two editions on there, I can ride for hours and only have to stop for food, fuel, or have to pee. It's been a wonderful addition. Much improvement to my comfort and it was all to my surprise. I didn't think it would have that big of an impact. Talk about the boombox a little bit. In my first video, I had a few complaints about the boombox navigation and entertainment system. Most of those criticisms today are still applicable, and of course it is version 1 of that boombox. A couple of the issues that I complained about have actually been resolved. The issue I had with Bluetooth connectivity trying to use two cell phones has been solved. I now only have one phone, and it's an iPhone 6. It stays connected and the boombox doesn't get confused. I can stop for fuel now, turn the Ultra off, and then when you get back on the bike and take off down the road, it takes a couple of minutes for the Bluetooth to reconnect, and it will resume streaming right where you left off. So all's well with that issue. Now, having a navigation system means you're never really lost as long as you get the correct destination entered into the nav system. I can't imagine how I ever rode a bike without one, but I did for a lot of years. I do like the 4 routing preferences that are available for the GPS, and they work pretty well. The preferences are fastest, shortest, twisty, and scenic. Fastest will normally put you on freeways, and it does get you home the fastest way. But 80% of the time I'm riding with the scenic option. Try the other two options, shortest and twisty. I don't know, I've had mixed results with those. But the scenic works pretty well. Sometimes the routes surprise you and they'll take you on roads that you probably wouldn't have normally ridden on, but they actually work out pretty good. They're pretty scenic, and only a couple times have I been routed on roads that I didn't really want to be on because they were either really rough or gravelly. But it takes a lot of futzing around to keep you off those bad routes, and I haven't really mastered that. I use a Garmin GPS in my car, and it's pretty easy to search for an endpoint like a hotel in a distant city as an example. That function's not so easy with the Ultra nav system. Most of the time it's quicker, easier, and more accurate to just pull over, get your cell phone out, look up Google Maps, take the exact address, and then enter that into the nav system. I have discovered many tricks to use to get where I want to go, the way I want to go, but it's not a matter of just setting the nav and going. I'm still in the learning process. Third issue, the boombox, is the menu system is huge, complex, and somewhat convoluted. It's more logical after you kind of understand how the system's put together, but to master the menu system is not an easy task. I continue to forget how to do certain things that you only occasionally do. I think I've discovered all the menus, but I'm still not sure. In my first review, I didn't like it, that you couldn't change what information is displayed on the map display. I just wanted the time on the map display so I didn't have to flip back through menus to find out what the time is. I figured out that you can just change what's displayed on the 2 fields on the map display, including the time. It just wasn't obvious to me how to configure that display. But now that I realize there's 2 configurable fields there, it's pretty good. It works really well. And I keep changing what's on the display based on the situation that I'm riding in. Boombox is fantastic and it's frustrating all at the same time. I can't imagine having another motorcycle ever that doesn't have a navigation system, because you're riding all these back roads in small towns, and it's just easy to get lost normally, or not at least pick the optimum route. You're really never lost when you have that, and it's pretty easy to get yourself where you're trying to go. It's just the problem that I've always had is that I can't always go the way I want to go. The next topic is heat. Heat's not really been a real problem for me personally on the Ultra. I know the bike runs hot, hence the reason for the water cooling of the heads, fans and radiators in the lower fairing, etc. I think the radiator fans only came on 3 or 4 times for me this year. Of course, I live in Ohio, and the highest temperature we have in the summer is in the low 90s. The sun beating down on me is more of a heat problem, and that's the reason I wear a long sleeve white performance wear t-shirts in the summertime. But there are two types of vents on the Ultra, the vents in the lower fairing and the wind deflectors on the upper fairing. I have the lower vents open anytime the air temperature is above 72 degrees. When it gets over 80 degrees, I move the air deflectors to direct the air around the bat wing fairing and onto my torso. The air coming around those deflectors gives you some buffeting, especially like at 75, 80 mile an hour, but it's worth the trade to have that air moving on you. There is also a plastic heat shield on the bottom of the seat that does keep the heat radiating up from the engine and hitting your butt. That seems to work pretty well, but obviously it works better when you're moving. If you're stuck in traffic and just creeping along, you can even feel the heat of the bike. Vents and shields only work when there's air moving, and the faster the better. You know, I just don't ride in that type of traffic normally. The results you have will vary based on the conditions you're riding in. The Ultra also employs a system that deactivates the rear cylinder when the engine temperature is too hot. If it ever kicked in, I never really noticed, but I think it probably has. Last issue that I've really come up against is because I've been riding 2-up, and it's kind of a new issue this year. It's really no fault of Harley-Davidson either. In fact, they warn you not to overload the trunk because you risk the occurrence of death or serious injury, as they show you on the label. We've been trying to put all the heavy stuff in the side bags and the lighter stuff up into the trunk. When riding 2-up and the bags and trunks are fully loaded, the Ultra really wants to roll over when you're maneuvering at slow speeds. It's very top heavy. I have dropped the Ultra at least 3 times. In all 3 cases, I was trying to maneuver at very slow speed in gravel, and you can't really get good foot traction. When you turn the front wheel too far in either direction, your weight balance shifts from straight up, and the bike's just going to roll over on you. It's pretty easy to get back up with the right technique, but it does create a tense situation when you and your passenger have to bail off as it's rolling over to its side, because you just don't want to get your ankles caught underneath something. In one of the rollovers, the muffler picked up a few deep scratches from the deep gravel I fell into, but no other damage. Crash bars work remarkably well though. When it sits on its side, the Ultra will rest on the front and the rear tires and the front and rear crash bars. Nothing else on the bike touches the ground. I now try to avoid gravel in about any situation, especially when I'm riding 2-up or got a lot of weight on the bike. I've got a Harley-Davidson helmet. I bought it new when I bought the bike. It's a 3/4 helmet. I ride with the helmet 100% of the time because I have the headset mounted in the helmet, and I like talking to the nav system. The added benefit, my head is safer than riding with no helmet. The vents on top of the helmet started vibrating and the sound reverberated throughout the helmet, and those vents just eventually fell off. I glued them back on with Gorilla Glue, and it stopped that vibration noise. The second issue has been with the clear visor. You just can't ride with that clear visor in the up position because the wind buffets your head, hits the visor in the up position. If you look straight forward, there isn't an issue whether you got the visor up or the visor down. So in the warmer weather, I just ended up removing the clear visor completely. That helmet also has the sun visor that slides down from within the helmet itself, and it works really pretty slickly, and I like that. The only issue with that is that glass is not dark enough for my sun-sensitive eyes. So in the bright weather, I normally just resort to using my Polaroid sunglasses. Well, that's it. Most of the issues and complaints are minor in comparison to all the good things the Ultra Limited does. I would still give the bike an overall rating of an A, and I've had no warranty issues and no maintenance issues this year. This bike is not fast, it doesn't have blinding acceleration, any way you want to measure it, but it is an outstanding touring bike, and you can comfortably cruise at 80 miles an hour for hours. And it actually runs through the tail of the dragon a lot more nimble than you would anticipate. Thanks for watching. I'm interested in your comments. Also, don't forget to see the links below this video.